I picked Vancouver, but I'm ready to defend Nashville a little bit. Like, I still appreciate what UC Saros can be.
Sure.
You know,
Guy can ball out back
we
there.
didn't even see a fully healthy Saros, you know. And so I don't know if that works for them in the series to their advantage. I think this year his numbers have maybe stabilized a little bit, leveled out, but he's still one of the best goaltenders in the league.
The number 1 seed from the Pacific versus the wild card. Vancouver versus Nashville. I'm with AJ on this one. This series is not particularly exciting to me.
Will anybody outside of these two cities watch these games?
No.
Only because hockey fans are maniacs and they'll be like,
they probably will turn it on if it happens.
As if
to
I'm
be
not going to veg on my couch.
100%. I'm going to call each of you out.
Yeah.
I will say, after having experienced scheduling in the East Coast, I would not be watching this game if I was out there with a 10 p.m. start. I'd be like, great. I will have it on in the background as I am brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. Like, cool. But while I watch it, no.
Let's start with Nashville here, because they were a team I think a lot of people picked, not myself, but other people on this podcast, to be sneaky good this year. They were. Not any good against Vancouver in the head-to-head, but a team that has put together a decent core that, you know, I don't know how sustainable going on the ridiculous run they did to pull away and pull off that wild card spot is, but is this a team that's capable of being competitive with the number 1 seed?
Yep.
Okay. I'm here for it. I don't know that I believe it, but I'm here for it.
I just think Vancouver's vulnerable.
I even agree with this take, but I just don't know if Nashville has it in them.
The big thing that I love about Nashville, one, Ryan O'Reilly as a proven playoff guy, as a guy that you just don't ever want to bet against, as still a good two-way player. You put that guy out there in all situations. You put him with a great goaltender who's playing really well, and you put him on a team with a lot of confidence, and they're going to give you really poor man's 2019 Blues vibes. Fine. I say poor man's because this team isn't anywhere near as deep or as good, but I think the perfect matchup for them was Vancouver, because the Canucks, I think, are fragile. I think that market is looking for a reason to turn inward on itself and freak out about a game 1 loss, for example. I just don't trust. I know you love talking footy up there, but I don't trust the team. I don't trust the market. I don't trust the organization that has never won anything. I don't trust that they know how to do this. In this situation, with all the pressure on them when they weren't expecting it, they're supposed to be the darling. And instead, they lose one game, it's going to be a freak out from everybody. And I don't trust that they have the kind of intestinal fortitude for the postseason yet.
I think those are fair arguments. I would also say Nashville is an organization that's never won anything.
Nashville's been to a Stanley Cup final more recently than Vancouver.
Not by a ton.
Not by a ton. But you talk about Nashville is just, there's just a thing about the Preds that I enjoy. It's why I was high on them. I really like Andrew Brunette as a head coach. So this is probably a blind spot for me. I really like Andrew Brunette as a head coach. I really don't like Rick Tocchet as a head coach. I think he's great. I love listening to him. But I think as an X's and O's coach, he gets eaten up in a best of 7. And that's where I think Andrew Brunette has been really good. You know this. He was an incredibly smart player.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that we are seeing that manifest in a guy that coaches a really aggressive kind of attacking style. And I just think that it can mitigate where Vancouver's got so much high-end talent at the top of its roster. They can get on top of you and come at you in waves.
And that's my problem.
Nashville can't stem that tide completely. But I think the way that they play and the way that they play as a group, the way that they play together is impressive and inspiring. And I'm making fun of this series. It's like, nobody's going to watch it. I'm excited to watch this series I mean, I'm a junkie, so what do you want from me? But
I want to jump off of that and show Nashville's top 5 scorers. Because, look,
this will be depressing.
They can play great team defense. Sure, I'm here for that. But you have a dude in your top 5 scorers that has 45 points. You absolutely have to get the best version of Philip Forsberg, which you might.
You've gotten it this year. I'm a whole lot less
convinced by getting the best version of Gus Nyquist in these playoffs. And I love Gus Nyquist, but that's not who Gus Nyquist has been his entire career.
Yeah, but it's who he is. It's who he is right now.
Yeah, this season was actually pretty good from him defensively as well.
Yeah, and great. Nashville can play great team defense. Is that enough?
Well,
I picked Vancouver, but I'm ready to defend Nashville a little bit. Like, I still appreciate what UC Saros can be.
Sure.
You know,
Guy
we
can
didn't
ball out back there.
didn't even see a fully healtty Saros, you know. And so I don't know if that works for them in the series to their advantage. I think this year his numbers have maybe stabilized a little bit, leveled out, but he's still one of the best goaltenders in the league.
He had such a bad start to the year.
Yep.
It was rough, and so it messed up the overall, but the finish, I think, is fine. And I think that Vancouver has more firepower, so I still pick Vancouver to come out of it. And I have a lack of trust of Nashville Stars' performance in the playoffs specifically. Like, I feel this was something I was critical of for Matt Duchene when it was him in the picture, but I still feel that way a little bit about Forsberg and company. And so that's just kind of a question that I need to see answered from Nashville is, can they show up? Because Vancouver Stars, I think, will show up.
I think it's all fair points. My biggest thing, though, because I agree with everything, I like both coaches. I like both goalies. I'm talking about Demko, right? Because he's back now and he's good.
I like Demko.
And I think Demko can become Hellebuck one day. That's what I think. Same path a little bit in my mind. Different pod. I think what it's going to come down to, and that's why I pick Vancouver. Because I like talk footy, you know, but Bruno's awesome, right, with Nashville. But I think where the difference is going to come, you touched on it, and it's going to come down to one is expected to win, and I don't think they're ready to have those expectations to win. And I think Nashville was dead out of water like freaking 40 games ago, and they went on that, and they have nothing to lose. And they've been playing that type of game now for 3 months, and that's why I think that it's going to go 7, or else I would have told you I think I would pick Vancouver hands down, you know, like no big deal. But I took Vancouver because I think they're going to struggle with the expectations but still overcome it and then learn from it, and you know, who knows where it goes round 2, but that's where my difference lies.
Here's my thing. I picked the X Factor for Nashville as Luke Evangelista. Another one similar to what I've done in some of these other videos. Nashville is going to have to score by committee a little bit if they want to overcome Vancouver. They're going to need their whole lineup pitching in here and there. And it's guys like Evangelista down the depth of their forward core that are going to have to get the job done for Nashville. Because I don't think they're good enough at the top to outpace what Vancouver has at the top.
I agree.
So on Nashville's side, that's what it is. On Vancouver's side, look, they have a ton of high-end talent. If you look at their top 5 scorers, you have the JT Millers of the world. Obviously, Quinn Hughes likely on his way to winning a Norris Trophy. Elias Pettersson is amazing. But then they have that massive fall off in production as well. They don't have a ton of I shouldn't say high end, but they don't have a ton of the middle, right?
Yeah.
The Val Nichushkins of the world that can give you 60-ish points in a season. So maybe they are a little bit vulnerable in their depth.
Fair.
All right. The other thing is my X factor for them, and maybe this is more of a negative X factor. Thatcher Demko played great this year when he was healthy. Has essentially no playoff experience. He played in the bubble for 4 games, and that was it. We're going to find out if he can do it under the bright lights. And if he struggles, Doors open.
Also, he's been injured.
Yep.
So he's not in any kind of real rhythm at the moment. You're kind of coming in cold to this environment with all the pressure and all the expectations. This is all why I'm like, I think Vancouver's good, but I think it goes 7.
I don't remember what I put. I think it's at least 6.
I know for a fact we all picked 6 or 7. AJ actually actively picking Nashville.
So this is probably my overreaction, but when I look at this series, I see Colorado-Seattle from last year. I can
certainly see how you could get there.
I see an overmatched team. The big thing, I believe in UC Saros more than I believe in Thatcher Demko, and I think he's kind of the equalizer for that depth. I think Vancouver's depth is not as good as they would like to pretend it to be.
Yep.
I like the depth of pretty much all the other playoff teams more outside of Nashville. And with the Preds though, I just think that this is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts kind of thing. And I think that the expectations will weigh on them. As we've talked about with other series before, the deeper this goes, the more it favors the Preds, because that pressure will ratchet up on Vancouver, and I don't believe they will handle it well. And I think Nashville's in such a free-flowing rhythm right now. I think that they've got the nothing to lose factor going for them. They get to just go out and play hockey and not worry about, if their season ends, they already overachieved. Vancouver also overachieved, but when you are hosting a playoff series, the expectation is to win it. When you win a division, the expectation is that you win it.
Yep.
And I just don't think as Eric said, I don't think the organization was ready for it. And so I think one win from the Preds in Vancouver puts them into a tailspin, and it turns into a rock fight. It's just going to be such a grind, and I trust Ryan O'Reilly and UC Saros in a Game 7.
I think on the Vancouver side, the unseen element is Elias Lindholm for their depth. Like, can he be more of a contributor than he was for the rest of the regular season?
Unseen is right.
That was a huge disappointment, but we also know from his previous body of work that he can be better than that. So I do wonder, that could be the X factor for Vancouver when we talk about their depth specifically. If he can be shades of Lindholm that we've seen prior, then what we've seen and how he closed out the season and dealt with injury, which is also going to add to then what is Elias Lindholm in the playoffs for Vancouver.
I would say, because this is something I had to think about with series like this, keep in mind, you're only picking round 1 here.
Yeah.
And every single year, there is a team that scores by committee, that does it as a group, that gets out of round 1. They never make it to the cup, but they get out of round 1. Seattle last year, the St. Louis Blues in 2022. Every year you can go back and look at a team that's, you know what, they're probably not the most high-end talented team out there.
Yeah.
But they do everything as a unit good enough to get through a round or two.
Yep. They play as a team well enough to win them a round, and it's usually against an opponent that either has a similar talent problem or has an expectation problem.
Yep. I think that's good enough for this one. Put your predictions down in the comments, whether you think Nashville can get past Vancouver or if Vancouver's going to stomp. Got more playoff previews. I don't know. This could be the last one. I have no idea what order they're in. If you haven't watched the rest of the playlist, it's over there. I think that's how it works on YouTube. I think it's over there. Go watch the rest of the videos.
We all silly like the mayor.